What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Christmas Special. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Now, we are joined by a whole star cast, but we've got a Christmas present to open, so I'm going to do that first and foremost and see exactly what my wife's got me for Christmas. So let's see what we've got. Oh, it's a Star Wars Lego set, isn't that generous? That's wonderful. Brilliant stuff. So happy Christmas to everybody who's tuning in on Christmas Day, and we're going to say a huge warm welcome to all of us who've joined us in the Discord and G+ panels on, well, technically not Christmas Day as this is being pre-recorded, but happy Christmas one and all.
Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Flatness.
Merry Flatness. We'll do some and a happy Hanukkah.
No, let's not get him into that.
Let's do some
Christmas poo. Come on.
Let's not talk about Christmas poo. We're going to do some Christmas housekeeping though. Any signs of Christmas Earth curvature?
Not from the North Pole.
Not from the top of the Eiffel Tower.
There might be some glows.
No, Santa not dropping as he traverses to deliver all the presents last night. Come on, someone's got to be able to spin that into an anti-globe proof, right? No drop for Santa Claus.
Well, the problem is that Coriolis just kind of throws them off.
Oh, we'll come to
Barika, you beat me to it, man.
Wait, now I get it. The spin of the Earth actually allows Santa to traverse the entire world really easy. You just have to go up. I get it now.
No, that's why Rudolph has the red nose, so that it's like anti-Coriolis, so Santa never gets lost. There you go.
Actually, I could slay any Santa argument.
Right, before the dreadful puns get started, right? We're
Now
talking
I'm
about
seeing
Earth
a
curve.
reindeer with...
So if we're talking about Earth curve and there's no drop for an aeroplane, airplanes are having to angle up in order to traverse the plane that we dwell atop, would Santa have to drop around his fantasy space ball? You tell me, I don't know. Does drop only work for Santa, or would planes also have to experience this fantasy drop if the Earth was curving?
I think reindeer and other animals have a better innate sense of nature and the natural environment, so they just go with the Earth turn the best way they can.
Oh, what you're saying is reindeers know it's flat.
Yeah, they have a better sense of it.
Yeah, reindeers know it's flat.
So in other words, they have a better presence
Or
of
is that a reindeer fallacy?
I don't know, you're not using it as a proof, right? You're just saying animals know what's what, and the Earth is obviously and observably flat, therefore reindeers know it's flat. It's not a logical fallacy. Okay, they can do it, we can do it. Christmas, you're allowed to beg the question for a flat Earth.
I think that if the Earth were spinning, that nesting for a lot of birds would be extremely difficult. Because they'd have to fly around the entire Earth just to get back at their previous ground.
We can get onto bird thumping natural experiments when we get to the viable hypotheses. Maybe we'll do that now. Any viable hypotheses from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics in their entire histories?
Note by Danny Faulkner, PhD astronomer.
So yeah, 2 or 3 weeks ago we had Daniel Faulkner using hillbilly blue balls gas pressure without a container by way of demonstration of gas pressure gradient inside a container, brought forth by gas pressure in a sealed container. Very embarrassing. Let's move on. No viable hypotheses then?
Nope.
It's very tough when you can't actually physically interact with that which you're conceptualizing.
Oh, again, according to one of Dr.
Viable
Daniel Faulkner's
hypotheses
minions.
from who?
According to what one of Dr. Daniel Faulkner's minions in reply to Sleeping Warrior, who's unfortunately not here right now, you don't need to vary the independent variable to offer scientific empiricism.
Yep, you just need to delete the whole thread.
You just need to ignore 10
Because
citations.
why, of course, would you need to vary the variable?
If you're asserting pseudoscience as your validity for a sphere Earth belief, then you need to decry actual science because you're really punting pseudoscience and just calling it science. So you need to make your weasel statements that make it not necessary to actually offer any empiricism when you make your just so story up, and then call it science, because science conjures the illusion of empiricism. So that's why. Perfectly reasonable as I clonk my Christmas tree. Ching ching. Any signs of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, as Ranty is here?
Negative.
Absolutely not.
And you know that there is no axis.
Yep. Earth's definitely stationary.
Not
Yeah,
from
well,
pole to
you
pole.
need to find the ball, then you need to find the axis of the ball, and then you need to prove that the ball is spinning, and then you need to prove the ball is spinning on this said axis. I don't know. It's a lot of things we're gonna need before we get that axial rotation. So
Right, start with the
I don't know.
top of your
Maybe
list then,
Santa-
Chocolate. Let's start with the top of your list. Any evidence of the R value? Earth radius.
None.
No. That would be an assumption based off the standard model.
Yeah, shout out to
So not science then?
pseudo Mick Westian 2 space. God, someone's got to
How about
retract
the
it.
radius of the realm?
Shout out retracted.
God, keep me hanging there.
I was waiting for you.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
We don't know what it is.
What's the sun?
Very good question. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Location?
Any evidence of its distance? Who cares what it is? We don't know. We're
Yeah,
not making
I
a
have
claim.
yeah. What is the sun? What is it?
I don't know. I don't need to tell you. I'm not making a claim of its distance, but there is one out there prevalent. I'm not making
It's
it.
light.
The
Pretty sure
sun.
it's light.
Praise Helios. The light in the sky they claim we bow towards and rotate around.
Oh, and don't forget it's supposedly much bigger than all of us. Don't forget that part.
Hail Helios. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating
And apparently it's
molten...
going to explode someday, so we should all be afraid of it.
Any more for any more? Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No.
They never got even deep enough to where theoretically the molten iron core should be starting in order to prove their concept.
You know what would be the best Christmas present ever? Scientific evidence of gravity.
Oh.
I can give you.
Scientific evidence of what?
Gravity.
I can give you proof that gravity has days off.
Days off?
Yeah.
What, when no one reifies the concept, you mean? Or are you talking the way it's reified in actuality by observation, it's taking a day off? Or can't be applied?
Yeah, I mean, if you consider that water is being affected by gravity always in their model, it has a shape and a distance that you can work out, calculate 7.98 inches per mile squared, and all water should conform to that formula, which means that you should always get at least a certain amount of blockage when you're looking at things in the distance. So when you see complete shore to shore over a very long distance, it would appear that gravity's had its day off.
I just had an idea, or I thought about something. Even ballers will agree that, isn't it? Don't they agree that things in motion will remain in motion unless acted upon? But isn't it also true that things at rest will remain at rest until acted on by a force? So isn't picking something up and dropping it putting a force on something?
Yeah, that would be taking something out of equilibrium, forcing it into disequilibrium, and then letting it return to equilibrium and going, ha ha ha! The bit where it returns, let's ignore everything else, is going to be called
doesn't that
gravity.
go against the very thing that they agree with?
You kind of cut them off.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just saying, doesn't that go against the very thing that they do actually agree with, Newton's laws or whatever you want to call them?
Agree with?
They're not right.
They don't even know which it is.
No, I appreciate that, but I'm just saying, if they're going to say, "Oh yeah, well, no, Newton's, all of this stuff," but then wouldn't they? Things at rest are going to remain there until you do something to it. Don't they inherently get that?
No, they don't get it. They like to ignore the bit where you pick up the microphone.
Yeah, because they.
Well, I think that they do get the concepts. They just ignore the consequences of those concepts. That's really the overarching.
No, they ignore the cause because they don't have a cause, so they have to assert. Oh, the cause is a force. That's why. That's what dropped the mic after I let it go, forgetting completely you picked up the fucking mic. Like it's like what? It's the
I'd like
simple
to hear
doublespeak,
more.
man. You know, they
I'd
forget
like
how
to
many
hear
times
Ranty's-
have Glovers come on here? We asked them. Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
No, I want to hear Ranty's view of gravity at rest.
I can show you water at rest and the effect that that has on observations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're on screen.
Okay, so as it's Christmas, I think we should do a Christmas special presentation. What do you think, Nate?
Looking good so far. 3 big triangles.
Okie dokie. Right. So last year, Red Pill Philosophy put a video out. I could use my own stuff, but for just simplicity, it's a better observation. I have to say, it's a beautiful observation. So he goes to the same spot every single time, and this is his exact location, right here on Black Point in Miami. So I'm going to put a line in and show you a distance, how far it is to a particular bridge that is seen in the footage. So we're going to look across all this water. This is all water. This is Biscayne Bay, and this is water. Now, this is the bridge that we're going to be looking at. It's right here, and essentially it is 17 miles away. Can you see 17 miles away? There we go. And it's the Rickenbacker Causeway, and the actual bridge, the name of the bridge, let me bring it up. The actual name of the bridge is the William M. Powell Bridge. Here's some images of it. Anybody can check that out. If we go to the Rickenbacker Causeway, the actual bridge that goes across that rises to a height of 76.1 feet above Biscayne Bay. Right, so that's its height above actual water. Now then, going back to the observation, which will be from this observation here, you can check his channel out. It's RPP-P1000. So that's Red Pill Philosophy, obviously, -P1000. He's had very few views in actual fact, but this is the raw and uncut footage of it. And in a moment, I'm going to play the video where we actually see the bridge. But from the distances involved, what should we consider when we think about this on an Earth curve calculator? So his tripod was set to 6 feet above actual sea level. You actually see him in the video as well. He poses right next to it. The distance was 17 miles to the bridge. So including refraction, which these globe heads always have to come back to, 76R, there would be 108 feet of hidden. You wouldn't see anything 108 feet. Excluding refraction would be 130 feet. Now, bearing in mind that the William M. Powell Bridge is only 76 feet above Biscayne Bay, that would seem to say that all of that bridge should be hidden to Earth curve if we believe that Earth is a sphere. Now, let's see what actually happens. So let's go to Google Earth and let's scroll right out, and just to prove that point, when we scroll out and we go out, right, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. You see this big ball here, big ball, right? All this area of water, all this is water. Now it's all being pulled to the center of the sphere Earth, apparently, and it's conforming to 7.98 inches per mile squared. So it has to curve. It can't be flat. It has to be curved. Otherwise, gravity is not acting on it in a spherical shape. It wouldn't happen. It has to curve. So there has to be that hidden when we consider that we're looking across Biscayne Bay. So let's go to the footage. Let's just see what we actually see. So as you can see, for instance, this buoy here that's floating on the water, you can see how calm this day is. There is almost no interaction, waves, nothing going on with this water. Now, here is the bridge. Here's the end of the bridge. There's the car lights going over this bridge. Now, I'm just going to put it on, say, half speed or 3/4 speed, actually. And what you're going to see is you're going to see these cars going over the Biscayne Bay. This is over Biscayne Bay. This is the bridge. This is the bridge that all should be hidden to Earth curve. You shouldn't see this in the globe model. Let me just pause it there. So these are the car headlights. They come right down. They go right down over here. And I've triangulated the distance because we do actually see the headlights on that road to no more than 6 feet above actual sea level. We're seeing down to 6 feet. Look at this. This is absolutely crystal clear, perfect example. When the conditions are right and we have very calm water, you can see an incredible distance. I've said it before. Look at this. Look at this. Now, just to ram this point home, I've actually just done a little diagram here. And obviously, all these cars are stacked up. I think I've done them at 6 feet in height to just give you an idea. So this is where Earth curve should be, if we believe in the Earth sphere model. But when you saw those cars going over the bridge and down the other side like that, and along the roadside over this side, this is what we were seeing down to. This is a 17-mile observation that defies the globe model, defies it. Gravity had to have been having a day off on this particular day. Either that, or gravity is bunkum and we don't live on a sphere and we just saw a very long way on a very calm day with good visibility. I'll let you make your own minds up, but I think I know where this is going, because if you believe in the globe, you have to say that this is a mirage. But is it a mirage when you look at the observation and you see the car lights and you follow and you can track the cars? You can track the cars going over the bridge. You can see them going up, going down. This is a mirage in the globe model, what you're seeing. It's not just a building. This is moving cars that you're seeing. It all should be hidden. What do you think, people?
Yeah, we see it because it's there. To assert that it's a slightly looming non-standard refraction hyena holographic projection of cars travelling beyond the reified edge of an Earth curve based on a begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator is absolutely absurd when you can simply believe the evidence of your own eyes. There it is. No justification required if you're a flat earther. We see it because it's there.
Flat water.
But we've been conditioned not to trust our own senses.
Yeah. Don't believe the evidence of your own eyes. It's not really there. It's actually a hologram. It's actually a mirage. It's not really there. Yeah, we see it. We've got eyes.
Beautiful summary.
One of the first times I listened to this show, I think it was like almost probably 95% was here arguing in Sleeping Warrior. And I just listened to the mental gymnastics that they were doing to try to explain why this, I think it was the lighthouse, was looming up, or refraction and all this shit. And then Nathan just said, but it's there. We just see it because it's there. And to me, it made more sense than any of the gibberish that I had heard for the previous 50 minutes or so, listening to these ballers try to explain why we see it and why it looks the way it does. And it's just like, dude, it's there. It's simple as that. So
And then
all
on
this
top of that,
gymnastics,
explain how
the
flat
mental.
earthers make up all these things and bend over backwards to assert their nonsense beliefs.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's literal mental gymnastics they got to do. And then they feel like, oh, you guys are just so simple. Well, maybe the answer is simple. Maybe you're overcomplicating it for yourselves. Instead of just saying, look, I see the lighthouse because it's there. No.
On this day,
It's, if I may,
Yeah, go ahead.
it's not even gymnastics. It's not even gymnastics in my opinion, because gymnastics implies some type of grace, some elegance. But all I get is, oh, you don't understand, and at-home attacks, like how stupid I am from people that never met me over the internet and we've never talked before, So that's the level we're dealing with, I'm afraid. Over.
I feel sorry for them. I really, there's a
Yeah.
part of me that it's not
All
funny
of
at
a
a certain
sudden,
point. I
they're
feel bad for
qualified.
people who are so duped.
There's still one last housekeeping question.
Okay.
Any evidence you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon for all the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe the sky is a vacuum without the gas we breathe dispersing into it?
No, you can't. And I did actually see a comment from, who's that guy that did that? Is it Billy Blue Balls or something, or Blue Marble or something? Science, whatever it was.
Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the. So he said to Sleeping Warrior, he made a comment on my channel from his presentation that he did, and he's basically said to Sleeping Warrior, until you can prove that open pipes are not a container, I'm not going to say sorry for the video. So what retard thinks that piping, okay, even if you've got open ends at each end, it's still not a container? Of course it's a container.
Yeah. Without the container, there can be no pressure. Quote, Conspiracy Cats, 2019. Just in case people are watching this in 2020.
If you get a
hello,
straw,
all you got to do is go outside. It's obvious.
I totally agree. All you've got to do is go outside and you will experience gas pressure. And as Conspiracy Cat says, without the container, there can be no pressure.
if you get a hose pipe, Nathan, you've got water inside the hose pipe, and you disconnect it, and then you put it in your car boot, and you drive off somewhere else, and you get it back out again, and then you shake it, and you shake it. What will happen is the water that was locked inside of the container will come out and empty out at the other end, obviously at the place that you've taken it to. So you've transported it. You've transported it in a container. It might have open ends, but it is still contained inside the piping.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue, obviously, that entropy will eventually take hold. I mean, eventually the water will dissipate, it'll evaporate, and it's not going to stay in there for all eternity. But by the same token, you're absolutely correct under your parameters. So if I've got a pipe and I'm washing my car and it's connected at both ends, and I seal it and turn off the tap, and then unplug the nozzle attachment so there's just a hole where I was spraying, and then pull it off the tap so there's just a hole where it had water going in, and then I coil it up, it doesn't suddenly magically stop containing the water that was in it. I mean, obviously I can shake it all out and get all the water out so it doesn't go all over the car, but if I just coil up that open-ended container, it's just a leaky container. It's going to leak all over the car, but when I get to the other end, there's a very high probability that there will still be some water contained in the pipe. In the same way, you could also pump butane into a 30-foot long tube, and it would contain it. I mean, obviously it's going to leak out eventually. Entropy will still take hold. Eventually the gas will fill the available volume and leak out the pipe. In the same way, entropy will take hold of the pipe, given enough time, and given enough time it'll take hold of the house behind the pipe and the pavement that it stood on. It's amazing. Entropy, directly proportional to time. But nonetheless, a pipe would still, as you rightly correctly identify, Ranty Flat Earth, is definitely a container.
Sleeping warrior.
The fact that we're in the situation of having to define what a container is should be very telling to people.
Oh yeah, it's pathetic.
We got into a point where they're basically arguing that every coffee cup, swimming pool, any type of open container is not a container. This is pathetic.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho ho ho! Shout
And
out
I
to
want to
Billy
pretend that gases
Blue Balls, the
behave like
redneck
liquid.
retard.
A very warm and
Merry
happy Christmas.
Christmas.
Hold on 1 second, guys. Warm and happy Christmas to you, Sleeping Warrior.
Merry Christmas, boys and girls. Did you all get coal for Christmas or did you get presents?
I got coal. Well,
I got
technically
coal.
not. I got a Lego Star Wars. Oh, the
I
irony.
got coal.
I got drunk.
You got drunk.
You don't have to make a spaceship out of it. It might be good for some other pieces, you know. It doesn't have to be a Narnia ship.
Are we still on the main show or am I in the after show?
This is the Christmas special.
Is it the main show or the after show?
There is no main or after. This isn't going to be going out live, so it's pre-recorded. So, you know, a couple of days, Christmas will come and we'll pretend for the rest of the show, despite you ruining the illusion that it's not actually Christmas today. But thank you for that.
Merry Christmas to all the ball and trolls that pollute my daily.
Sleepy warrior. Boo hoo hoo.
You can think of it as it's Christmas.
It is Christmas because this is being broadcast on Christmas, so this is Christmas.
That's right.
It's an inferior show.
Do you know what? We should have done it like in the style of NASA, where we actually dress up as Santa Claus and elves and all that kind of stuff, and really act and present as though it actually is Christmas Day, and we could try and interact with chat that isn't really there, and somebody can fall off the wires in the background and stuff like that.
But look, you're not following me. It is Christmas Day.
Yes, I'm having dinner with my dad right now.
The
That's why I
Armin's
said
got
ho
it.
ho ho. I knew
Ho,
it was
ho,
Christmas
ho.
Day
I opened a present at the beginning of this. Lego.
to get into the festive spirit.
Yeah. Got my tree up, looking beautiful. Excellent stuff. You missed all the housekeeping questions. We've discussed hillbilly blue balls. We've discussed... It's all been about you, actually, Anthony. It's all been about Dr. Daniel Faulkner and hillbilly blue balls, summarising the events of the last month or so.
So Chocolate's right when he's saying that the ballers won't accept that a swimming pool or a cup that you have your coffee in isn't a container, because if it's got gas in it, it needs to be a sealed container. But any other thing, like if you put like coins in it, that's okay, that's a container. But when it comes to gas, it's got to be a sealed container with pressure in it.
No.
And then they attribute that claim to us because we've said that the sealing of the container stops the effects of entropy. For some reason, they think that that's the claim. And it's like, how many times have I told you? You need the container for the pressure, but to stop the effects of the entropy, you need the sealing part of it. And we're saying you need a container for the gas pressure, as he demonstrates, and he doesn't like admitting it. He won't admit it, but he looks like an absolute idiot for not doing. He's an idiot.
So that's Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, who's demonstrated gas pressure gradients inside a 30-foot long pipe with the title Gas Pressure Without a Container, and then argued justified it, if you will, by saying it's not a sealed... What's that? Sealed what? Container? So it's definitely not a demonstration of gas pressure without a container. But further to that, and this will be about a month ago for anybody who's watching this on Christmas Day, we had a Dr. Daniel Faulkner, who is the author of Falling Flat, who made his presence known at the recent American conference for Flat Earth, essentially said he could refute all Flat Earth claims, and that the idiots who say they can't refute all Flat Earth claims simply get their information from the idiot internet. So it was put to him by Nathan Thompson at the conference, how can you have gas pressure without a container? And his rationale was to go out and search the internet and discover, guess who? Hillbilly Blue Balls, the redneck retard, with his demonstration of gas pressure gradients in a 30-foot pipe, labelled incorrectly gas pressure without a container? No, gas pressure in a leaky container. Nevertheless, this PhD astronomer cited Hillbilly Blueballs, the redneck retard, and then stood behind his trolls who would declare things like, you don't need to vary a variable to have empirical scientific evidence. Yeah, and then 10 citations followed, demolishing any claims that scientific validity isn't acquired by varying that which you assume causes an effect you've observed at step 1 of the method. But then Anthony got removed from the group because, of course, he was asking for scientific validity for the assertions made by heliocentric priests, in this instance, Dr. Daniel Faulkner. So that's a reasonable summary of the events that took place. Most importantly was the Dr. Daniel Faulkner part, not the Hillbilly Blueballs part, but great that a doctor has cited somebody by having a quick internet search and coming across a complete moron and citing him to Anthony, whilst obviously declaring that Anthony doesn't understand. When in reality, Dr. Daniel Faulkner demonstrated himself quite admirably as the pseudo-scientist he is, who references redneck retards who don't understand what a container is. That was a good fun time. Happy Christmas, everyone.
He's now, because I've been removed out of that group, he's now blocked me on Facebook, so I can't actually speak to him directly at all now unless I run across him in some other thread somewhere. I wasn't rude or curt with him. I was saying, look, you've made claims and we can prove that you're wrong. Why are you running? Let's have this out. Let's have a conversation. Let's see if you can demonstrate your claims with science. And I got blocked on him as well.
Yeah, for the Fundy Globeheads, it's reached the point in our lives where it is acceptable to say the bending of a conceptual medium will give rise to a not actual force, but we'll consider it a force, called gravity. There is no scientific validity to this assertion. It's a just-so story conjured in the mind of Einstein. But that being said, if you ask me to validate this nonsense scientifically, when I point out that plenty of claim to be scientists say that it's not a force, but they also don't contradict themselves when they say it's not a force. No. That's the assertions of Dr. Daniel Faulkner in this thread. Now, all of that complete doublespeak nonsense is apparently perfectly acceptable. Modern world says, yeah, gravity's not a force. You can think of it as a force, even though it's a concept and it's not actual. It's not actually going to manifest itself in reality because it's a concept. That's all acceptable nonsense. But when you say, excuse me, purveyor of the religious worldview that we are on a spinning sphere flying through a vacuum, how can we have the gas we breathe if Earth's claimed to be an open system? How can we have gas pressure without a container? And then you get told, you're a moron, you don't understand, you're not in authority, and ultimately, if you ask them to empirically validate their claim, you will be banned and removed from any conversation with this priest. That's pretty much it. That's where we're at now, actually, in reality. Although this is Christmas Day for you, that's where we're at now when this is being filmed.
Well, this is for Hillbilly Blueballs, or whatever he's called. I just typed into Google, what is a bucket? And can you guess what they said, Nathan? A roughly cylindrical open container.
No.
Container. And let's just go to Wikipedia, which it says a bucket is typically a watertight, vertical cylinder or truncated cone or square with an open top and a flat bottom. A bucket is usually an open top container. Hello.
Yeah, we're dealing with morons that don't understand what a container is. You ask them to show gas pressure without a container, and they'll present a sealed and an open container and go, victory is mine! Gas pressure without a container! And you go, hello? Are you literally retarded? That's not gas pressure without a container. That's gas pressure in a sealed container being transferred into gas pressure in a leaky container. Like your hosepipe example, Ranty.
It's just retarded. So stupid.
I mean, if the freaking pipe didn't contain the butane, how would he have been able to take a pressure reading in the first place?
Yeah, they took it out.
What kind of moron are we? I'm sorry, man.
They took it out.
We're dealing with grown-ups who will tell me that my coffee cup is not a container. Like, this is out of control. Sorry.
No, you're absolutely right.
Who's the more fool? The fool or the fool who presents Hillbilly Blueball's YouTube video?
So a shoe is not a container, but it is a phenomena.
Yeah.
It might be an
Hmm.
accelerating shoe.
Basically,
You have to
by these
check.
standards.
Okay, so now you've nominated yourself to explain why you would reference a shoe as a phenomena but not a container. Despite the fact that shoe could absolutely be a container, you're not wrong.
It contains your feet.
No, but I said it's supposedly not a container. Of course, it's a container. You can pour
but-
water in it. It'll stay in there for a while.
No, I just said that, but you also juxtapose that with it being a phenomena. Why would you say such nonsense? How could a shoe be a phenomena? Who would say such nonsense?
Yeah, there's this odd person keeps on coming back. He or she thinks she's a she, and she just keeps on doing that and trying to forward the most silly double-speak latent arguments anybody has ever heard, and declaring shoe to be a phenomena within an experiment to prove gravity, wasn't it? Yeah, she actually attempted that several times. She still doubles down on it to this day, I think.
Well, that's only because there's not a neutral platform. It would all make sense if it was on some neutral platform.
Apparently, a neutral platform is only needed after your argument's been destroyed for about 45 minutes. Then it's, oh, but why don't you debate me with a moderator? Really? Because we didn't just debate for 40 minutes.
That's just the most
Nah,
recent
we didn't do that.
nonsense. All the other nonsense, too.
Speaking of nonsense, so who have we got to share their pain with us then in Discord server? Come on, fundies, share your pain.
John, go get your glasses.
Runs with Scissors. We've never heard from you before. How you doing, Runs with Scissors? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
That's
Merry
Francis.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Yeah, we do know who you are. Sorry.
No problem.
T Cozy? Can you hear us, T Cozy? Share your pain.
I think T. Cozy was Babs.
We missed explaining that there are such things as platform shoes, however.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, talking
you hear
about
me?
silly claims.
Yeah,
By the
hey
way,
Babs.
if I
Hey Babs.
Are they accelerating platform shoes?
Right.
It depends if you're running or not.
Okay, so that's an
Hey,
assertion
Testman, I have a quick question for you.
Go ahead.
So no, I love the term "the 10th man," and I've thought about that, and so one of the reasons I kept listening to this show is because of the idea that you're the 10th man. And when people ask you what does the 10th man mean, what's your most concise kind of version of it? Because I think anyone here talking about this truth aspect of what's going on, these truthers, we're all kind of the 10th man in most situations. How do you describe that?
Well, I got it from the movie World War Z, and the 10th man
So
was
did
going
I.
to disagree with if nine people on a 10-man board or group agreed on something, it was the duty of the 10th man to disagree, no matter what, even if the idea made sense. To cause conversation, to make sure, because you don't want everyone agreeing on something without discussion, is the way I see it.
I like
Perfect.
that.
Yeah, that's where I got it too. That's exactly what I tell people from that movie.
I like that, and I do
It
remember
was so fitting when I heard it.
Okay, I never knew about that. I just thought he was the 10th man because there fit 10 people on the Google panel, and he was the 10th man.
That's only my numerical value.
Right, guys, I've got to disappear. I've got to go and baste the turkey.
Okie dokie, thank you. Happy Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody. See you later.
Laters.
Merry Christmas, Ranty.
It's Christmas in Europe, Nathan?
Yeah, this is the Christmas show. Don't spoil the magic.
Oh, sorry.
Happy Christmas to you.
You should rebroadcast
Christmas is
this.
being loomed up from Europe.
Being loomed up from beyond a month from now.
Now-
Exactly.
Any balls jingling around Christmas time?
Post jingling. What's that code for?
Any globheads want to come and put their narrative?
Yeah. Share your pain, fundies. Been asking.
Jingle balls, jingle balls.
Never a straight answer. Can you hear us?
If they don't respond, since Anthony's on here and he's hopefully listening, I'd like to have a conversation about relative density.
I'm here. I'm listening.
The one brought this up yesterday. I don't know if you can see my screen. Liquefaction demonstrated.
Liquefaction.
Yeah, liquefaction. Yeah, sorry.
Where you push air through the sand and it makes it into a liquid.
Yeah, well, if you watch this video, I'm not going to play it for Nathan's sake, but he puts some kind of ball in here, and then he puts a weight on it, and then he shakes it, and the weight sinks, but the ball rises up out of the sand as he shakes it. See that?
Yeah, I know why
He
that
shakes
happens.
it.
Yeah, I know why that happens too. Same thing would happen with your muesli. So when you buy your muesli at the supermarket and you open it, what do you get? Well, you get the big chunky hazelnuts and raisins at the top, and you get the fine dusty stuff at the bottom. And that's because as it's been transported, it's been vibrated, shook, and obviously in the same way as you'd get in general soil, the things that are nice wide gaps because they're big chunky particles are going to let the thinner stuff through and filter to the bottom, so you end up with all the chunky stuff at the top. In this example, you've got a golf ball vibrated its way up to the top, and yeah, the same principle applies.
Right, exactly. So you got
And relative density. Also.
What's that?
And relative density also.
Right, that's what it is. I was bringing this up, but I was thinking about after the one said this, and obviously the conversation over the gas pressure issue. We all know what this is. We've all seen this, and I think even QE's posted this. And there's it's known that all molecules are constantly in motion. So even the solid, which is here to the right, those molecules, even though they're not, you don't look like they're moving, they're still moving, but the bonds are so strong that they can't be separated. Well, once the bonds get weaker and weaker, and obviously you go to a liquid, and then obviously you go to a gas, which is to the left. Well, I was thinking about the periodic table, and this I like this because it shows you how the different metals or different substances are. Well, I was thinking about Anthony's experiment too. I'll go back up here where this is a little easier to see. Water has, what was it, H2O? So you got O and then H. So they're really, if you look at the molecular number of it, O or oxygen is 8, and hydrogen is 1. So it's the particles they're not as compact, or there's not enough of them there, so to speak, and the bonds are probably not. The bonds are weaker, so to speak. And then you got the salt, which is, I think is it calcium, sodium chloride? I think Ci is
sodium
chloride, and then I forget where sodium is. Is it Na?
Yeah,
I think it's
Na
Na.
sodium.
So you got sodium is 11, and chloride is what, 17? Right there, just the the compact nature of the atom itself, right? Well, that increases the density just from the molecular structure of the particles. But I think it's also a factor in this is the bonds. I think that's why liquefaction is also crucial, because if you look at the gases, because the bonds, and since all molecules have weight to them, or not weight but motion to them, that's why these tend to stay. The gases tend to stay in the microscopic gas state all the time, or the state of gas motion all the time because of the bonds. So my thought could be the aspect of what the cause of relative density is, the motion of the particles and how tightly packed they are, and also their atomic structure also have a factor in the relative density of the materials. Understand what I'm saying? And why relative density is the factor in this,
Right.
not gravity.
And maneuverability is important for how the relative density displacement will express itself.
Right. Well, if you look at this chart, that's why I brought this chart up right here originally. Like if you move towards the right of the periodic table, they become more gaseous. If you move to the left, to the bottom, they become more solids and more dense, so to speak. And obviously, there's some the way the bonds interact. Like this UUO is a synthetic element. It has a higher density, but I guess the way the bonds work on the structure of the molecule, it tends to be more of a gas than it does a solid. So just some thought. Any comments? I don't know if the one's probably more into this or.
Yeah, you're demonstrating the atomic weights. So basically, the more heavy the atomic weights are, that's the reason why we're getting the way that they're displacing. If the materials or the matter are able to move, they will find their own equilibrium. That liquefaction is really interesting because there's some examples of guys sat in hot tubs that are filled with sand, and they start blowing air through them, and it acts like water. So it's like that, but on a bigger scale, and he's not shaking it; he's just blowing air through it. But if you see one of them, that's even more bizarre.
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about this. I mean, I'm not making any claims as of yet, but I think this could account for relative density.
Just for my own clarity, is it liquefaction or liquefaction?
Liquefaction. I'm sorry.
You guys just said both.
Oh, so I'm trying liquefaction. Sorry, liquefaction.
All right. Thank you.
Now, didn't you say yesterday though that a solid can actually become, even though this is more like a little bit of water and sand in it, but can a metal also be liquefied if it's vibrated enough?
No. What the one said yesterday, which was news to me, was that if you take well, maybe you can explain it yourself. The one you can explain your version of liquefaction.
Well, liquefaction is referred to in manufacturing as when they compress gases to make them into liquids. So they call that process in manufacturing liquefaction. And the two ways that you can produce, for example, nitrogen is by cooling down air or compressing it until it becomes liquid.
Fluid.
So it could go.
Fluid.
It goes both.
Fluid, not liquid.
Yeah, fluid.
Yeah, but solids can act like liquids as well, though.
Don't confuse things. Hold on, Sleeping Warrior. Let's just give that clarity. So when you compress a gas to the point where there's no space between it, then it will behave like a liquid. Sorry, I'll correct that. Like a fluid. Now, when it's behaving like a fluid, it's not a fluid because then it would have intermolecular bonds. Now, it doesn't have intermolecular bonds. There's just no space between the gas anymore. So it exhibits liquid-like behavior, and that's where you get the term fluid. So it's not bonded, it's not a liquid, but it's going to exhibit liquid-like behavior because it's been compressed to the point where it's essentially squashed so tightly that it can't move and would behave as though it was bonded as per a liquid. It isn't, it's still a gas. Go ahead,
Exactly.
Anthony. Hold on.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. Go ahead, Anthony. Sorry to cut you off.
I've seen numerous videos online where, like boy racers get their cars and they hook them up with like car stereos and they put loads of bass subwoofer basses in there and they crank it right up, and like the windows that are like, glass, toughened glass, and the door frames that house the glass, they ripple like water when he turns it really high. I'm just going to see if I can find it. I was watching it and I was like, that is incredible.
I've seen that.
It's incredible.
Yep.
I'll see if I can find it, and I'll present it if I can find it. It's just turning the volume up really loud and creating like really powerful waves, and it makes the water. It makes the
talking about
metal bend like water.
You're talking about the car, where the guy had the system in the car, and he had it. The windows and the door were literally they looked like liquid.
Yeah,
that's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I just saw that the other day. I was like, wow, that's insane.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Let me know if you do want to present it. Just don't actually play it. Just scrub through it.
Well, you'll need to see a couple of seconds of it because you can see the water the doors like rippling. It's bizarre to look at because they're obviously solid metal, like a couple of mil thick. Like they're not going to act like water, but they're just rolling around like water. It's bizarre.
It's just vibrating.
Well,
Right, it's resonance.
Resonance, yeah.
Well, while he's looking that up, and I was going to make just a quick observation about density. Like aluminum, I watched a little small video. I'm not going to play it, but I watched it. It's kind of interesting. You got aluminum is typically a solid. You got copper, which is also a solid, or metals or whatever. You can have the same amount of it, but one's more dense than the other. But if you notice why it's more dense, it's the molecular number. Like I think aluminum is 13, and I think copper is like 20. If I'm reading that right. So right there's an aspect. What's that?
29.
29. Okay, I'm looking on my TV and I'm a little bit away, so I can't hardly see it.
20 is all the way to the left.
Okay. I can't remember. It doesn't matter, but I think you get my point. So they're both solids, but it's the atomic number is what's causing the density of it, and also I think the bonds have a part to play. More I've thought about this. I think the relative density becomes more of a chemistry issue than it has anything to do with gravity. So the more I've thought about it, the more every time we look at this, I keep thinking it's chemistry, how the molecules are interacting with each other more than anything else.
Well, the molecular weight, as it were, that designation definitely has something to do with the relative density. But again, things like maneuverability, does it dissolve? How does it respond in conjunction with other substances? That also, can do all kinds of strange extra effects. Suddenly, things rearrange themselves so they become less dense or more dense than they normally are. So,
well, right. Well, it's like when I did some research too, when I was looking at the atmosphere, like water makes the air lighter. Like the more water you remove from the atmosphere, the air becomes heavier. They call it heavy air, and it's because the molecular structure of the water, because its atomic number is smaller than if you have just more of oxygen or carbon monoxide or nitrogen in the system. So just interesting relative density. Of course, this might be relevant to Adam since he's in the chemistry.
Adam,
Hey.
Merry Christmas, Adam.
Periodic table I can see there.
Merry Christmas, Adam Meakin.
Oh, is it Christmas Day today? Guys, that's the reason I joined in. So happy Christmas, Tiny Tim, to you and yours. And yeah, much love to everyone. If it's going out Christmas Day, keep your fat, guys. And yeah, let's look forward to another flat year for 2020. So yeah, happy Christmas, everyone.
And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in to this Christmas Day special on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Stay tuned if you're watching on the Nathan Oakley channel, as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all on the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
You're on it right now.
Christmas special because I think on the first live show, I think it's a Christmas special because the after show was still filmed in the live show.
Yeah, they were doing Christmas in there.
Merry Christmas.
I would like to get Adam's feedback on if he heard any of what we were talking about, since he would be the most chemical-minded person probably on the panel.
I didn't hear any of it. Can you summarize? I literally joined in as you said, Adam.
Basically, I was talking about the fact that it would seem to me, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but we were talking about the idea of relative density can be explained on the periodic table, basically, and how the molecules are interacting with one another to create the relative density that we experience and what causes things to move in certain directions. That's kind of what I was thinking. And I was using...
Well, no, because molecules don't have relative density. I think if you think of the standard model of an atom, then the density of a nucleus is the same. It's just that whether or not there's more or less components, neutrons and protons. But in terms of the actual density of that, well, no, it's the same. So if you've got a heavier nucleus, it's a bigger nucleus. So the constituent parts are the same for all of them.
I wouldn't say atomic number relates
It
anything
does
to.
help, but depends on the way the package is formulated. If you go to Terry Apophasis, he'll tell you about how weight and all this other stuff that go into these volume density formulas is something that changes, varying based off of location, based off of medium, based off of the force vectors, the directions that they're being, expressed and pushed in out of, and based off of the displacement, how thinly beat out, and how thin the metal is, or how thin the substance is, or how thick and concentrated it is.
Shut the hell up.
Adam was mid-sentence before you start opening your yapper.
Shut the hell up.
Hey,
my
it's
word.
Christmas.
Go ahead,
Well,
Adam.
All I would say is, so you've got the atomic structure there, so I don't think you would have a density difference there. The reason you're going to get different densities is literally then down to the unique properties of the atoms as to how they then align. So within a solid structure, a crystalline lattice, how that arrangement is formulated, that's the thing that's going to define solid density, as to how the atoms align at their lowest, highest point of entropy. So they're the most rested, but they're not interacting with each other. So that's where density would start to come in. So I don't think you would necessarily draw I mean, you obviously, the bigger the molecule, the more likely it is at that point then within the crystalline lattice, or within any lattice structure, that nucleus, which is pretty much taking up the same size as another nucleus in reality in terms of the interstitial spaces, that they're 99.9% of the space the atom's taking up. So it's at that point that once you start to talk about more than one atom within a lattice structure, that you can then start to calculate density.
Well, the thought I had was,
is a gas atom and a liquid atom the same?
The atom itself is, but how that atom then interplays with another atom of the same type. So within a gas structure, they're freely moving, aren't they? They're not interacting with each other unless they bump into each other. It's the same atom, but within a liquid, there is small molecular bonding between them. They flow freely over each other. But the atom's the same, yeah.
Well, that's kind of what I was driving at a little bit. I mean, you're, like I said, you're more chemical. I took chemistry a long time ago, and I forgot more than I remember. But it's the I thought this, like how the atoms are interacting, or how they're connected and how they bond, factors into their density. That's kind of what I was trying to get to, I guess, in roughly what you were saying. But I watched a small video just talking about density itself, and they use copper and aluminum as their illustrations. And the aluminum has atomic number of 13, and copper has an atomic number of 29. I mean, but their bonding would be similar, I guess, in that sense. But it's their atomic number that makes them, you would think, making them more dense than the other. No, am I not hearing that right?
Yeah, because most of the atomic.
Didn't you listen to his explanation?
No.
Well, I'm clarifying.
You're asking the same question again. He just explained it to you.
Calculate again then. So the density within the nucleus is no different. It's the size of that nucleus. That nucleus is insignificant with regards to the actual space an atom takes up. So yes, obviously, as you've demonstrated there, a copper atom will weigh more than an aluminium atom. Therefore, its relative density is derived by that, but the actual periodic table doesn't indicate it directly. And there's always, with all these sorts of things, a contradiction to the rule, isn't there? But I wouldn't necessarily view.
If you have a sheet of,
hold on a second, let Adam continue.
If you have a sheet of
hold on, are you Adam?
If you have a sheet of aluminium foil. If you have a sheet of aluminium foil.
Okay, you're not getting the picture, so you're not Adam. So I think the question's malformed, right, Adam?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where I'm struggling to word it, because, like to talk about an atom and density, that, like I said, I hope it's clear that they're not really any more or less dense. The density is the same. It's just the volume of the nucleus is bigger.
Right,
if we're
exactly.
Talking about an atom, yeah, but because an atom has a mass, and that mass takes up an insignificant amount of the actual volume that the atom will occupy relative to another, you can then start to, but you don't really get into density. Is not really to do with an atom, it's to do with a collection of atoms in whatever state you're then dealing with them, and that can affect the density of the physical state it's in. But you tend to be, when you're talking about density, relating to millions and trillions of atoms and how they coalesce together to figure that out. That's what the density is, isn't it? How many per cubic, whatever it is.
Yeah, you're talking about, to summarize it, you're saying it's malformed because it's an argument about matter, and you're talking about the states of matter.
The initial question was in relation to the periodic table. Now, the periodic table, in general, just describes a single atom. It describes the nature of that atom, how many electrons it's got, how many protons, how many neutrons, and how they're, you can then calculate how they're then arranged. As I was saying, that the thing within the atom that gives the mass, the weight, is the protons and the neutrons, and they're only contained in a very small space in the nucleus. The majority of the volume of the atom is made up by the weightless electrons going around. That's what takes up. So within that, whether it's an iron atom, a copper atom, an oxygen atom, the nucleus itself, in its composition of protons and neutrons, will be the same density. So directly from, so I suppose it's not a atomic property, density. It's a physical property of when you've got more than one atom, and it's a consequence of how those atoms align with the highest level of entropy they can get to align to each other to increase entropy, and it's how that alignment then increases the interstitial spaces or decreases them to give you something that's more or less dense of the same thing. So, and that's why ice is slightly less dense than water, because of the way with entropy that it aligns to have its lowest energy state. It actually makes the lattice slightly bigger, but it's that lattice that you're then using to calculate density, not the concentration of neutrons and protons in the thing, in the center of the atom.
He should have stopped when. Listen, yeah, that was perfect explanation. He should have stopped when he said it's more of a physical property than a chemical property. You understand that?
I do. That's yeah. That's why I was asking. I thought Adam could be better at this because he's the chemist on the panel. So.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Adam.
I got a quick question. Can I ask one question? How will the scientific method for proving gas pressure in the atmosphere? Does anybody know it? The scientific method for proving gas pressure.
Yeah, we heard you the first time. It's a malformed question. You're an idiot.
So,
sure it is.
I breathe.
Can someone?
I'm breathing. There's gas
like
pressure.
to talk about the scientific method.
Yeah, I know. We do. When it's appropriate. Shut the hell up. We talk about the scientific method when we're looking at cause and effect relationships, right? That's when we use the scientific method. When we're talking about what's and is's, you don't use the scientific method. You're a moron. Thank you.
Quantum, you're not being fair.
Why not? He has asked a malformed question. His question isn't causal, so it doesn't apply. Scientific method is for establishing the cause of an effect. Well, if you're asking why is
the effect is gas pressure.
Dallas is a good soldier. That's all I'm going to say. No way to speak to him.
I'm sorry, I don't want to offend the cadence.
Dallas, the problem is Dallas is going to say something to the effect of there's no gas pressure. Meanwhile, we're all breathing gas. So that's the problem.
No,
and we've been here before with Dallas.
What's the scientific method for proving gas pressure? What is the...
It's a malformed question.
Here we go again. That's all for you. We're not listening to your same question again after we just pummeled it.
Right?
I'm just going to repeat the same thing again like a retard. Merry Christmas.
But I'll repeat the pummeling. It's akin to saying, give me the scientific evidence of table. Oh, well, if you can't give me scientific evidence of table, then the table you've got your feet upon doesn't exist. That's what he's going to do. No. Saying table isn't a cause and effect relationship that needs establishment through systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis. It's just a table. Nothing's happening. You need something to actually happen, a phenomenon, to actually go forth to explain the phenomenon.
Since it's Christmas, I'll give him one more chance. If he repeats the same damn question, I'm going to kick him. Okay?
Yeah, sure. Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Ho, ho, ho.
So
Did I hear?
Hold on,
did I hear
Chocolate.
Scrooge?
Hold on, Chocolate. You've been taken off mute, David. You don't have to talk, but if you've got any further questions about why your question isn't a causal relationship, then feel free. Otherwise, hopefully the conversation will not go round and round in circles on that subject.
No, I apologize. It's just people tell me there's gas pressure, and I don't know how you prove that. That's all I'm saying. How do you prove
Oh
it?
my! You're straddling the fence. I'll tell you that.
Barometer.
Okay, David, move on, buddy.
Oh, you can change subjects. Go ahead. This is the Christmas show. We got to be nice.
This is why people get pissed at you. It's because you
There's a
stay
difference.
on the same thing and you just keep going on.
Difference between being nice and denying the very air that we breathe.
We are also allowed to beg the question because it's Christmas.
Oh, we're handing out free begging the questions
Well,
today.
but
For
before
Christmas.
everybody migrated to the after show, it was being discussed, and there is no definitive proof of a container. Because if so, what is it and where is it? What is it?
Go on,
Show the definitive proof then of the container right now. Come on.
I'm breathing.
Where is it? What's it
Because
made
to have,
I'm
to
breathing.
have gas pressure, you have to have a container.
Where's the container? Where's the container?
Around the gas, it contains it.
I don't know. I don't know where it is, but I'm breathing. Therefore, the sky can't be a vacuum. Otherwise, I wouldn't be breathing, and we wouldn't be having this conversation.
I agree that there is no vacuum of space, and yes, they are wrong about that.
I'd like to ask the question: isn't gas pressure when gases collide with objects, creating a pressure? So if the gases aren't colliding with me, then there would be no gas pressure. If the gases are colliding with me, then there would be gas pressure. So you have to prove that the gases aren't coming in contact and colliding with surfaces, right?
But you have to define pressure because pressure means pressing. Is anything pressing on you right now?
No worries, I'll define it.
Defined it.
It's the force the gas exerts when it presses on the walls of a container.
And particles have to collide with the surface to create a force, right?
I just want to go back to what Merle asks. He said there's no proof that there's a container. Now, I don't mind doing this because I tend to get held to task on this because I won't say there is a container. But it's an antecedent consequent relationship. In the same way, if you've got a steak in front of you, then you are effectively saying, I don't believe there was ever a cow. Because I
Nathan,
can't prove that.
Can we go with the dog shit one instead? It's much better.
No, we can't. Definitely not.
Oh, okay.
Steak and cow is fine. Don't need dog and dog shit. It's bloody Liverpudlian coming out in you.
It's Christmas, man.
People might be eating mince pies and stuff. Look, let's just keep it to steak. Look, let's just keep it to steak. There's no need for this discussion. We're halfway through an example, for God's sake. Happy Christmas, everyone. Right. I can't prove to Merle that there was a cow if I present him with a steak. Well, you know that there had to be a cow for there to be a steak. And I know that for there to be gas, it must be contained. Because if it wasn't contained, it wouldn't be here. Because it's not contained. So it's an antecedent consequent. Even though I can't show you...
Yes,
I'm nearly there. I'm nearly there.
With
I'm sorry, Meryl. I'm nearly there. I know I paused. I've got to breathe the air that's definitely here. Anyway, So even though I can't show you a sky dome, it's an antecedent, the necessary antecedent for the gas I'm breathing. So I don't need to see it to know that we've got containment.
Right.
It's temperature is the containment.
No, that's something else. Temperature, something else. You don't
go.
need gas to have temperature. Yeah, that's something else.
No, we're not going. Say that one more time, and you're out of here.
Well, continue with the beef analogy.
Well,
we do have beyond. Have beyond.
Go ahead.
Hold on a second. It's ribeye steaks because we got some Weisenheimers in the chat saying steaks. You can get steaks from all kind of different things. There's a reason why I say ribeye steak. Yes, Nathan said steak. It's okay. He meant ribeye steak. Okay, so that comes from a cow. Globe tarts. You're getting kangaroo steaks, tuna steaks. Yeah, I get it. Great. You know what? You're so clever. When do you come off your Rhodes Scholarship? You think you're clever or something?
Oh, then we'll find out. We'll find out. El Broclia, or however you say name. Was that what you were going to say?
Beyond meat, so we can invoke beyond meat.
You can, but it has to be specific because his example was specific. It's ribeye steaks. Ribeye steaks only come from cows. Do you get it? Do we need to go any further with this? Do we maybe paint by numbers?
I love it. When it comes to arguing about reference frames or something, they've got nothing right. But as soon as you mention coffee cups or steaks, man, they're on it, man. They're there. The glowheads have got something to say.
Isn't it funny when they criticise us for being semantic right? And then who's the first one that jumps into the definition of containment?
Usually get a piece of cow bone in your ribeye. Over.
This is why I prefer the dog shit one. You can't argue it came from a cat.
Hold on a second. The person making that claim was L. Is that who you are? You are in this live stream. Go ahead. Come on, tell us about the kangaroo steaks. Just for a moment. I want to hear this.
He was when you interrupted.
No, he wasn't. He didn't come off mute yet. Not El Bacori or whatever the hell that Spanish name is.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. He was. He's talking now. Go ahead.
That's not him. It's the guy above him.
Oh, L.
L.
Oh, sorry. I take it all back. My apologies. L, what the hell are you doing? Come off mute. You're making me look stupid.
L, come off mute and share your kangaroo steaks.
They weren't kangaroo. I can prove it. The chef told me. He said so.
So can I ask a question? So when they say there's 14.7 psi of atmospheric pressure, they didn't use the scientific method to come up with that.
Oh my God!
Let me answer him. No, it's not a phenomena that you're observing.
I'm asking is they came up with the number. At one point, there was no gas pressure. Then all of a sudden, somebody decided that there was. How did they go about figuring it out?
Okay, Nathan, he's out of here on my level, but it's your show. You tell me.
At the point that you start getting angry about it, you feel free to boot him. But in the meantime, I'll try and reason with him. We'll see how it goes. It could be fun. You just don't know. You don't know till you try. No, the numbering of it, i.e. this 14.7 you attributed, that's arbitrary. It's kind of meaningless. But in terms of what science does, the way to not be asking these questions that are malformed is to understand the steps of the scientific method. Step 1, observe a phenomena. So once you've got a phenomenon that you can go, I wonder what causes that. But this isn't a phenomenon. Nothing's happening. You could say, why am I breathing? That could be your phenomena, but that's not why have we got gas pressure. And wrapped up in the why is it numbered at 14.7? Who cares? That's arbitrary. That particular part is arbitrary, but the bit you're asking aside from that is malformed because it's not causally related. It's not causing anything. It's not an effect.
So why do we have gas pressure then?
Why do we have gas?
Doesn't mean anything.
But
Because
are
you have
asking-
gas, you have gas pressure.
Yeah. Gas pressure is the force a gas exerts on the walls of a container. But are you asking why we have gas?
I'm asking why we have gas pressure, and you said because we have gas.
Yeah, but that's the answer. Because it's contained. In other words, you could have gas, but without the containment bit, as I explained earlier to someone else, Merle, it's the necessary antecedent. You can't just have gas to have gas pressure. It's got to be pressing on something. Because if not, it would disperse. It would fill whatever volume it had to fill. So, in their rhetoric of a sky vacuum, then their gas doesn't have anything to press on. It's just got an endless amount of space to fill. So you don't have in play... My God, why am I being interrupted? Who is it interrupting me? Is it you, David, by chance? The one asking the stupid question that I'm having to take my time answering? Is it you interrupting me? Maybe after you've interrupted me a few more times, you'll tell me that you're here to learn. Shut up! Just kick him out. I'm getting angry with him. Go back. Bye-bye. Piss off, you dumb fuck. Kick him out. That's it. I'm pissed off with him already. He's asking me stupid questions that just require a very basic knowledge of the scientific method. Step one, in fact, you wouldn't even need to know the first thing that you need to do in that method. Observe a phenomena. What's his phenomena? He hasn't got one. End of explanation. No more explanation from me needed. No phenomena, no scientific method required. So asking us why we haven't got scientific evidence of something that we experience, i.e. bloody breathing gas, our point is that to have gas pressure, i.e. bloody pressing on something, it needs to be in a container. Otherwise it's not pressing on something. The clue's in the title. Why didn't I listen to you, QE? Why didn't I let you do what you wanted? It's because I'm belligerent, that's why. I should respect you more.
Well, it's Christmas.
It is Christmas, but I shouldn't let my belligerence get the better of me. I should have took your advice. You should have just got rid of him before I started swearing. Anyway, it's the after show. Who cares?
Okay, from now on, instead of ribeyes, we're using filet mignon.
That's what I was going to say. I was trying to get into that 5 times. I was like, actually, it's filet. But there we go.
I don't know, man. A ribeye has a piece of bone in it. That comes from a cow.
You could use a T-bone.
Yeah, but a ribeye, you can get ribeyes from pork loin ribeye. We need just the cow, so we're going with filet mignon from now on. Okay?
Dog shit's
My
dog.
word.
And my wife's just
Can I offer...
That's the steak we eat. I love filet. So back when I was a rep and I didn't pay for anything, that was the steak I had. It was the nicest steak on the menu generally. And it was delicious. So now we're poor. If we ever have the temptation to go and eat out, we don't. We'll go to the butcher and buy filet, which is tiny and costs a fortune, but less than going out. And then we'll cook it nicely and that'll be our romantic dinner with filet. But, oh, magnifique. Vegetarians, I'm sorry, but that's something I just can't give up.
Yeah, ribeyes. I'm a ribeye guy, so I hear you. Filet mignon is it's really good, but I'm gonna have to go with ribeyes on the Pepsi challenge.
If I may?
Sorry, we were talking steak. We were very sidetracked, and by your tone, I can tell this is on topic. Go ahead.
For the ones who don't enjoy steak, perhaps a good example is with honey and bees. Because when you see honey, unless you can come up with a source for honey other than bees, then you know that bees exist, right?
That's a good one.
I think that's much better. I'm stealing that. In fact, that's copyright Nathan Oakley 1980 from now on. Kick him out.
The other one, caviar. Nathan. Caviar comes from fish.
Caviar comes from Wales.
He's Sleeping Warrior.
Hold on. Caviar comes from Wales.
Yeah, fish. That's what fish is a whale, isn't it?
Fish, you say?
Oh, it's a mammal.
Hold on. We could now segue into the arbitrary sectioning of these species, right? Couldn't we? That would be fun. But it's still flat Earth debate as opposed to Ballbusters, so we won't go there. But I just thought it was funny that you said they come from fish.
I still prefer dog shit. That's a much easier analogy.
Yeah, but Anthony, how do you determine that it's actually from a dog? A lot of things could look like that.
Because it comes from the word dog.
Yeah, but if you're just looking at it on the sidewalk, how would you determine one way or the other? Honey is very
He's
like.
just
Yep,
used
that's
to
honey.
begging the question
Dog
fallacy
feed.
against you because he's only the other day he's argued about atmosphere. Oh well, you can't presuppose it's spherical and air sphere. No, that's not tolerable. But I can arbitrarily say that mess on the floor has come from a dog. Why? Well, because I call it dog shit. That's why.
Yeah, but no. But if you call it shit, then you could argue that it
dog
dog come
shit
from
fallacy.
But if you denounce it as dog shit, then it is dog shit, right?
I can't believe what's just happened. Bloody scousers. So you've managed to get us debating about dog shit here, have you, Anthony? You bastard.
Yeah.
Well
Dog
done.
shit's
I got a much better
you can't
time.
have dog shit without a dog, can you? Can't have dog shit without a dog. Come on.
Sleeping Warrior.
Begging the dog shit question.
He is. He's begging
By
the
that
dog shit question.
logic, all you have to do is call the steak beef steak.
Yeah, exactly. It's as pathetic as me. I jokingly said the chef told me as a joke to say, "Oh, I beg the question." The chef told me it's not cat, you know. But that was my joke. Whereas you're just saying, "Well, no, I'm going to call it dog shit in there for its dog shit." Well, yeah. Well, the chef told me it was a beefsteak. It's the same. That's mine's better.
Ribeyes have a bit more flair than just saying beefsteak. I tried to put a little flair on it, right?
Right.
Jeez, oh man. Let's just roll with the honey.
Yeah,
which is copyrighted by me.
Copyrighted by me.
2019.
I think that is the best one though, honey, because there's no synthetic equivalent.
We should stick with the honey.
Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Stick with the honey. That's boom boom. Where's 10th
There
man?
is synthetic honey. You just Google fake honey. They make it out of it looks like caramel, but it's not from an actual bee.
How about a beehive and bees?
Would that be pseudo honey?
Yeah, but what's it called?
I just Googled fake honey.
Yeah, but
and
that's
they were like,
it's literally
be
pseudo
sham
honey,
honey,
though,
sham
isn't it?
honey.
It's not. It's not like dog shit where you're assigning where it's come from and it could have come from multiple sources. If it's honey, it has come from a bee. Now, what you're saying is, oh, well, there's all sorts of synthetic or fake honeys. Well, then they're not honey, are they? Like pseudo for space. You know, it's not real.
Right.
So fake honey isn't honey then. So if it's honey, it's honey. It's come from a bee. I think that's going to be as good as it gets in terms of a comparable antecedent.
Nathan, did you call on me?
We were just talking about antecedents, my dear.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the honey, but I needed to gather my thoughts. I didn't want to bumble my way through.
Oh, that's terrible.
Hang on. I'm just pulling your leg.
I'll just steal someone else's. Stick around. There's more.
Oh, beehive.
Beehive?
10th man.
Anyway,
Yeah,
let's get this train wreck back on the rails.
Is that the latest buzz?
God, let's get this back on track. So, this started off with Merle's excellent question. So, it's an antecedent consequent relationship in terms of air pressure, i.e., air pressing on stuff, that you've got a container for it to press upon. Because if there wasn't one, gas would vacate, we wouldn't have gas. So, it's a necessary antecedent. In the same way, copyright Nathan Oakley 1980, you can't have honey without a bee. But I don't have to show you the bee.
How are you straight copywriting that over? Didn't dancers come up with that?
There could be a wasp on your toast, but you know that wasp hasn't given you the honey. Just to confuse things.
Oh.
So yeah, without the container, there can be no pressure. That's the bottom line. Let's just round that out with the conspiracy cat's quote. So without the container, there can be no pressure.
Yeah, enough with all that buzz.
I already used that one.
I was gonna say,
on.
Tumbleweed, man, tumbleweed.
You missed that one.
Do you know what I've not seen since the 80s?
Honey?
White dog shit.
The Bangles?
White dog shit. We don't see it anymore.
Will you get off that,
my
Anthony?
God.
It's a crappy
Please
argument.
stop him. Someone kick him out.
Oh man, it's a crappy argument.
Caused by pleurisy, Tony.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, boys. I've just
Who's
had you
that?
guys playing in the pharmacy, and the young apprentice dispenser's I'm converting into a flat earther. He says, I've just found out that the necessary antecedent for dog shit is a dog. So, we're getting there.
Yeah. If an apprentice pharmacist can do it, ball earthers can do it too.
Baby steps.
I know someone who'll want to insert. Hey, Alan, can you end this nonsense by talking to Sleeping Warrior, maybe reasoning with him?
He's beyond
Or
all
adding
reason.
more nonsense. Whichever you prefer.
Bring back the donuts and the bananas, man.
Anyway, Tony, let's have a Sleeping Warrior update.
No, that's
taking
not.
the
You're not able to represent my words accurately, and you mislead people by putting them intentionally out of context to make it look like I've said
I'm just
something
going
that
to
I
ask you a
haven't.
question. Are you accusing me of cherry picking?
I'm talking to you, Al. You're a prick. No.
Thanks.
You welcome,
Never done
Anthony.
anything.
That's what you get for talking about dog shit. Set Alan on you.
I was wondering how taking the education board to court was going.
Alan, go eat your ho-hos. Merry Christmas.
Hi, Travis.
What do you mean?
Look.
What do you mean taking the education board to court?
I thought you were taking the education board to court and getting your essay through. Just was looking for an update, really.
Well, you know what Thought did.
Nothing to report then?
Nothing to report. And you know what, Al? If there was, I wouldn't report it to you because you would misrepresent it to everybody else and make it look like it was the opposite of what was said, wouldn't you?
You could use your own words, Tony.
Because you're a weasel.
Love you.
He's already managed that just in his question. So there is no court case. So he's already misrepresented it.
Well, he was planning on taking them to court. That was the big thing with Sexy Roxy.
Yeah, that's incorrect.
No, it's not. He did a 45-minute Google Hangout talking all about it on the Globe Earth Live channel. Still there.
This is separate from the educational piece that you mentioned at the end of your statement then?
Yeah, there's two. There were two things that you were planning to do.
Oh, that wasn't made clear by you.
Yeah, there were two things. There were two things there, Nathan.
Oh,
Two
thanks
questions.
for that clarity. Wouldn't want those sorts of things getting confused now, would we?
Well, if you spend your time talking about dog shit, these things happen.
I agree. I completely agree.
What do you care? Like, why even ask the question?
Don't be mean. He's sharing his pain.
Okay.
I'm asking a question. You're not allowed? Is this neo-Nazi Germany?
No, I was just asking what do you care?
Were people not allowed to ask questions in neo-Nazi Germany? I bet that made breakfast time very difficult. Can you pass the toast? Oh shit! Fucked up already.
Can you pass the toast? Nathan. Uncomfortable silence.
Hey, Alan, just for old time's sake, since it's Christmas and all, would you talk like a woman again for us like you used to?
No, I've changed my trousers since then. They got slightly looser.
Oh, the Jeff.
Did you
back
leave
in the
them
Jeff
when you
days?
changed
Did you change them because it's Christmas?
Did you leave them when you changed your pants?
Did I leave them?
Yeah, when you changed your pants, did you leave them?
No, I put them in the wash bin.
Oh, so you're in the wash bin too.
Wow. Comedian of the year.
Well, I just
Wow is
wanted to
right.
point out that a virus, you might have a problem with the virus. He says when you change your pants, you don't leave them.
Nathan, pull this show back. It's slipping.
That was actually somebody from your side making that argument, Alan. So, yeah.
It's one of those. Somebody ham-handedly tried to use the assertion that we're constantly on a non-inertial reference frame, but they missed the point of the argument and never asserted that. Instead, asserting that you can change reference frames without leaving reference frames in the same way you can change pants without leaving your pants. You can throw them over your shoulder and take them with you. And therefore you don't leave a reference frame when you change reference frames, which is obviously nonsense. Just a tool that particular argumentee didn't understand was utilised by more skilled debaters to beg the question of a non-inertial spinning reference frame that is Earth as a sphere. But that wasn't fully appreciated and just ended up in a comical example being given where changing pants doesn't mean you leave pants. Like you don't leave reference frames if you step off a roundabout, which you do. Unless you're begging the question of a sphere Earth, of course, which a more competent debater would have appreciated. Hey, welcome. How's it going?
There was an unlimited number of reference frames, so it didn't matter. There was an unlimited number.
Yeah, I love hearing that. There's infinite reference frames. It's infinite. You could have as many as you want.
And apparently you can be in as many as you want, too.
All at the same time. It's great.
It's a bit like that definition of mass, isn't it? When they need it to, it can become fucking anything. It morphs into like anything you want. It's like poof. It's like gravity when they need that. That can become anything.
I think that's part of the doublespeak where they have two versions of everything. So if one part of the argument's not working, they just switch gears to the other version and argue with that, and then it gets so convoluted. Most people just say, "I don't know, whatever." Neil deGrasse Tyson probably knows what's up.
Yeah. Appeal to authorities prevail in their model always.
So as 2019's wrapping up, what has Flat Earth achieved this year, do you think?
Exposing you as a pretender clown, that's for one.
We've demonstrated more pseudoscience in your model.
Exposing Mick West as a pretender clown.
One at a time. So we've got pseudo two space Mick West, and then Anthony. I didn't hear what you said, but it sounded good.
We've demonstrated more of your model is pseudoscience than anybody ever anticipated. We all thought that this shit was true and that you had a working model. And when we've looked into it and realized that you actually don't have any working model and it's mostly pseudoscience, and the only shit that you can actually prove is stuff that isn't contentious, we realized that it's not us that needs to prove anything, guys. It's you.
Yeah, it's been the year of exposure.
We've gotten
of
you
pseudo.
to believe now that science doesn't prove anything.
You took it away from me. That's just what I was going to say. So in 2018 and the beginning of 2019, there were still the remnants of people asserting that the whole body of science, in actuality, all of pseudoscience, proved that we're on a sphere. Whereas the tail end of 2019, we find ourselves with people saying pseudoscience. Oh, my bad, that's not what they say. Science doesn't prove anything. Well, that's incorrect. Science definitely proves cause. But the pseudoscience they had been using that they called science doesn't prove anything. So 2018, science, actually pseudoscience, proves the ball. End of 2019, science, actually pseudoscience, doesn't prove anything. So that's quite a big achievement.
And doesn't have a working model.
Plus, I mean, come on, we got beautiful quotes this year, such as gravity is not a force, but you can think of it as a force.
And the other one?
Right? Oh, and the other one, of course, that we can, we do, we must consider Newtonian gravity as a force. Doesn't mean it really is one, but we don't necessarily have to work at the really is level.
Oh, chocolate.
2019. 2019 is George Booster. Please don't say that again.
That's how they're able to work at the seat of their pants.
Yeah.
Yep. Seat of the pants.
We also
Leaps of logic. Guess what?
We also had PhD astronomer Dr. Daniel Faulkner, who cited the redneck retard hillbilly blue balls incorrect assertion that he had gas pressure without a container by way of a demonstration of gas pressure in a sealed container being moved into a container that's leaking. So that was cited by a PhD doctor astronomer Daniel Faulkner.
So Alan B,
any evidence of the container?
Yeah.
Alan B.
Yeah, but he said any evidence of the container.
Yeah. I can
Go
answer
ahead,
that.
Nathan, get him.
Yeah, let's just answer him. Yeah, we are breathing gas.
Okay.
Thank you. We also had... just one sec. By coincidence, on that very subject, we also had a YouTuber, Conspiracy Cats, give us a few good quotes. 2019. Without the balloon, there is no pressure. The balloon being a container in that example made by Conspiracy Cats in 2019. Also, quote, Conspiracy Cats 2019. Without the container, there can be no pressure, end quote. Conspiracy Cats 2019. Those were quite good highlights of 2019.
No evidence of a container, though.
It's a necessary antecedent.
Sting him, Nathan.
And
yeah,
last but by no means least, we had a most recent book debunking flat earthers from our claims that we don't actually make, where he dedicated a whole about 10, 12 pages to a section on gravity and didn't once mention the current science. He talked about Newtonian principles that were gone by 1915. And it's like, how can you have a book out talking about gravity and not mentioning the current science? I mean, that's like retarded. And this guy is being touted as some kind of, I don't know, flat earth debunker. We don't even make any claims, but this is what you guys are having to do now. Send people out into the field, make up a load of shit, debunk a load of shit that we didn't make or claim, and then somehow hope that we don't spot that you don't mention the current science when you're talking about gravity. Yet we're the ones with the problems.
He's not working. He's not writing the book at a really is level.
Right.
Yeah.
2019
That's funny.
also
Neil
saw...
deGrasse Tyson. I'm sorry, Nathan, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it also saw the addition of a new housekeeping question. So, any evidence of any viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, astrophysics, or cosmology in their entire history? So that's a new housekeeping question. 2019.
A single viable scientific hypothesis, just one.
It's been a very
also we have natural phenomena. Shoe. What's your hypothesis?
Come on.
A shoe.
You beat me to it.
We've uncovered the existence of accelerating coffee cups.
We've had space-time being the center of a donut.
Yes, you beat me to it. Damn it, guys. Yep.
Can we get somebody to put those in a document? List them all, please.
Pretty good year.
Yeah, there is a document. It's called The Nathan Oakley Show. It's on YouTube. Just watch them. There's 1,000 episodes.
Shout out to Nathan Oakley.
Yay, shout out to me.
I think we also have to have a consolidation prize for Mr. Mick West, Mr. Science Communicator, who says that we don't need things in a test, in an experiment. We don't need things to conduct an experiment. Shout out to Mick West.
Yeah, shout out retracted.
Doesn't know what thank you.
It definitely was not Mick West's year. 2019 will definitely be a year that's got a score mark through it rather than under it for Mick West.
Did you answer Alan's question? Remember the question?
I don't now. Now that you've said that, my bad.
He said show the proof of the container.
Yeah, I did answer that. I said we're breathing.
Yeah, just go outside.
No photographic evidence?
Any photographic evidence of the curve or spin or anything
Wait a
else?
second. Nathan, sting him.
Yeah, so if I've got some honey in front of me, do I need to show you a bee for you to know that a bee was involved in that process of creating that honey? Or would you say...
What about dog shit? What about dog shit, Al?
No, someone slap him. Or would you say until I show you the beehive, you're not going to accept that the honey's real?
Yeah. You want to see the beehive, you want to know how big it is, what field it's in.
Dang him!
These are just semantical arguments.
Semantical arguments. Yeah, words mean things.
That's a concession. Could you not tell he was smiling when he said it?
Yeah, That was almost a concession, as close as we get.
Don't project onto me, Tony.
It was an embedded confessional. We know.
The dome was actually in the encyclopedia of like 16. No, wait, 18 something.
No,
There
it's
was an
not.
encyclopedia.
They're talking about
Detail.
ice, geographic ice fixtures on the ground.
Oh, that's a good segue. So what did we get wrong? What did we get wrong on Flat Earth in 2019? So first and foremost, we've had it already. So no, domes in Antarctica are a geographical feature, like a hill. What else was there?
That is a really weird thing. However many domes are there, that it's almost like that's weird. It's almost like they're putting it in her face.
Yeah, I agree.
That might be.
But in
that might be the case.
But in that specific case, the domes were ice or geographical topographical features, though. But that was a quick one. We corrected that relative the same day.
Yeah, we did. We just looked it up. I'm not going to gloat too much, but literally right at the beginning, I said it's a geographical feature. It was hand waved. The research was done, and then that was the case. But there we go. That's just one of those things. Not to gloat too much.
But that also doesn't mean that it's not accurate, like that's what's happening. Because I wonder if we plotted out any of those things on, I don't know, obviously the map that you don't agree with per se, but I wonder if that would actually create the ring around if it was ever plotted in such a way. But I don't know how you'd actually do that.
Alrighty then.
All right. What else we get? What else did in 2019 that this show or anyone on this show got wrong? Yes.
Are we talking about Globers?
Well,
no, we're not talking about Globers. We're talking about the other side of the fence where we got something wrong. We as a collective singular.
I mean, outside of the debate throughout 2019, we had losses with models. So there's still a lot of people on our side of the argument that are guilty of offering up their own straw man to the other side of the debate. So they say, this is how it works on my model. So while we have been pummeling people based on their reification fallacy, taking that which is not concrete, a model, and expressing it as though it's in physical actuality, the fallacy of misplaced concretedness, a reification fallacy, which is what we do so that they being globeheads, hold up our model against their model in what's known as a false dichotomy fallacy. So they demolish your model, burn your straw man that you, flat earthers, hold up. Well, there's no need. You don't need to offer up an alternative explanation when you pummel the living daylights out of an assertion that we live on a spinning sphere model. We don't. That's a reification fallacy. But we don't need to offer our own explanation. There's absolutely no requirement whatsoever when you're demolishing someone's argument. If there's a positive assertion that the sky is a vacuum, there you go, let's focus on the positive. So 2019 saw a lot of people pick up on the you can't have gas pressure without a container argument. The sky is not a vacuum. I think most people on our side of the argument appreciate that now, which is definitely a win.
You also figured out that you shouldn't be begging the question along with the Coriolis turn to
that was a
fix
dark,
that.
Yes. That was a dark time Rest in 2019. Peace. Go ahead, Chocolate.
Rest in peace, Coriolis. Begging the question.
We need to also emphasize the closures to the atmospheric pressure point because they bring up the correction for atmospheric pressure being, well, we don't live in a gas system, we live in an atmospheric pressure. Well, the closure to that point is, for them to have atmospheric pressure, you need to have both mass, gravity, and you need to have a surface area for it to be able to have atmospheric pressure. You haven't got gravity,
Wrong.
And you sure as shit don't
Wrong.
have mass.
It's given their explanation.
Say that again, John.
Yeah, that's incorrect. You don't need all those things to have gas pressure. You just need container.
You weren't listening. I didn't say that.
Yep.
He was explaining their position, but yeah, you said wrong at the right moment. You punctuated it fine. It's good. You heard it, Anthony.
Yep.
No, but I feel like I've been...
Hold on, there's some challenge. Oh, late in the summaries. Go ahead, Alan. Go ahead. Share your pain.
We lost Patricia Steer this year as well.
Yes, that is a very dark time. Along with debating Coriolis and figuring out the begging the question fallacy that is assuming Earth spins as a non-inertial reference frame, we also lost Patricia Steer, which was a very dark time indeed, because she was bullied.
Terrible.
Yeah,
terrible treatment.
Somewhat annoyingly, we've still got Bill Nye, though.
We lost Patricia Steer, but Bill Nye's still making stuff. They talk about a non sequitur.
You also corrected the shape of the Earth to the nature of Earth.
Oh,
you're roboting.
That you, Stephen?
I'm driving. I don't know if you can hear me, but you corrected the shape of the Earth to the nature of Earth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's another false dichotomy that they get us to hold up. So by saying shape of the Earth at the beginning of the introduction for each debate, it implies that you've got to justify a physicality, a shape, whereas a geometric aspect would be Earth's flatness. Well, the fact that we have a observably flat plane isn't a shape. Their reification of a model is a shape, and asking us to provide what shape do you say it is? Oh, you say the shape is flat? Well, that's nonsensical. So yeah, the intro got changed to express your views on the nature of Earth. One aspect of the nature of Earth is its flatness, obviously and observably.
That's two from Neil deGrasse Tyson we didn't cover. One was the so-called Coriolis and the field goal, and the other is you can't see the curvature because you're not high enough.
I don't think that was 2019, was it? I thought that was 2018.
I think that's 2018 as well, actually. Very late 2018, maybe.
I thought it was this year.
Which
one? Because he said even at 300,000 feet, you can't see the curvature.
No, we're talking about the field goal.
Oh, okay, never mind.
But yeah, we can talk about that though. That getting up to 300,000 feet to see the reification of the Earth curve model, sphere Earth heliocentric model, into an arbitrary position where the sky appears to meet the ground. We know this apparent location as the horizon. However, according to heliocentric priest Neil deGrasse Tyson, this not actual location will demonstrate Earth's sphericity when you reify this model at an altitude of 300,000 feet. And he demonstrates this with a blown up beach ball Earth and says you're only 1 millimeter above it if you're the ISS. How could you expect to see Earth curve? Now, his Earth curve, when in that demonstration of holding something above an actual sphere, would be the leading edge of the sphere that you're looking over in his actual physical example with a beach ball and something only a millimetre above it. In reality, that's simply his way of reifying for his audience that he's saying, I suggest, or I imply, Earth is a sphere, and you wouldn't see the edge of a sphere until you got to this altitude. In reality, he's reifying the arbitrary position where the sky appears to meet the ground into the edge of that model depicted with his beach ball. So the reification of the horizon was what I took away from that little stint from Neil deGrasse Tyson 2019. Not getting high enough? Well, no, don't take that as a flat earther to mean that, oh, you can't see the horizon bending. Your horizon rises with eye level. Who gives a shit? It's a not actual location.
Okay.
So, again, guilty flat earthers saying it's meaningful. Go ahead.
Did he say 300,000 feet you could see the curve? Did he say that?
No. He said the highest that we've gone up. I think he said 300,000. I think he was talking about like high altitude planes and balloons and stuff like that.
300,000 feet in a plane?
I thought he was talking about the ISS, not 300,000 feet.
Or he might have said even at 300,000 feet, you're only 1 millimeter.
Oh, in that one video. Yeah, but at least at 128,000 feet, that stuff's flat. That's what he said, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's what he said.
He was saying that
flat.
From 128,000 feet, you're about 2 millimeters above the beach ball, and that you would not see the curvature.
Yeah, I want to break that down though, because maybe it's not been fully understood the levels that that's working at. So people asserted in 2017 that Felix Baumgartner's jump, the Red Bull jump, has use of fisheye lenses. Now, I've just pointed out that the use of the horizon rising to eye level as a flat earther is also fallacious, because it's a not actual location, in the same way I've just debunked it for the globe. So the position where the sky appears to meet the ground rises to eye level. It's not a location you can go to. It's not a fixed location. But by holding a beach ball, he did what Brenda did back in the day when she was like, a horizon is, and then defines what you see if you rise off an actual ball. So by physically holding that beach ball, he's forcing the reification onto you. Because in that example, if you were an ant above that ball, your horizon would be what he describes on that ball. Now, I would flip that on its head and say, no, if Earth was a sphere, in his example, which he's making mandatory by example with his beach ball, it would be obviously and observably spherical. We see no effects of sphericity whatsoever. But he's justifying the fact that you don't see any effects of sphericity by saying you've got to get high to see the edge of his beach ball, ergo reifying the beach ball into Earth. Now, that, again, is the fallacy of misplaced concretedness, to assert that his beach ball model is Earth when he reifies the edge of the beach ball into the not actual location that is the horizon, an apparent position where the sky meets the ground. It doesn't meet the ground, it's a not actual location. It's the same fallacy on both sides. So by doing that, he concedes GoPro fisheye lenses and says the horizon should be flat anyway. You can't see the edge of this beach ball yet at 120,000 feet, Felix. Fisheye, fisheye. And the flat earthers shake their head and go, yeah, we've been saying that for years, while we also reify the horizon into an actual location. So he's then getting us to do the same as flat earthers if we were watching that. And going, look, here you go. He concedes it. No, I'm sorry to Red Pill. He got big kudos and shout-outs previously in terms of his image that Ranty presented on the semi-live show for the Christmas special. And that kudos stays, other than the fact that when he was utilising Neil deGrasse Tyson's speech, saying you'd have to be a millimetre off it, he's effectively fallen into the trap of letting them reify the horizon. By saying, you see, it shouldn't even bend at 120,000 feet according to Neil deGrasse Tyson. What shouldn't bend? The edge of a sphere when you reify a beach ball he's holding. No, you're looking at the horizon. We are too when we say it rises to eye level. Crap argument. Anyway, that's my rant over. Happy Christmas.
Out of curiosity, did you ever see that the Baumgartner jump where the logos change from one camera to the other?
Yes.
Thus making the whole thing kind of weirdly hoaxy?
Yeah, as soon as I saw that, I'd already kind of written it off anyway when I saw that. That was in 2019 that had been exposed to me right at the beginning. It was sort of January time. So yeah, that would count in this roundup of the 2019 stuff. Yeah, I just immediately went, well, I discounted it anyway, but yeah, what a shock. There's blatant continuity error that's impossible. So therefore, the whole thing's obviously fake. Or a multiple launch that's been hacked together. It doesn't matter at that point. It's been tricked and faked, and there's a continuity error that's impossible. So, what a shock.
That's the same kind of...
What about my question is, so which one is it? Is it you can't see curvature at 128,000 feet, or climb a tree and you see curvature?
There is no curvature. The curvature they're talking about is a reification. In both examples, climbing a tree and saying you can see further when it's actually the opening up of an angle. Ultimately speaking, if you were to put that through their begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator, they'd just take the elevation you were up the tree from and still take the actual sizes of everything in the distance, never change them with distance using feet and inches or meters. So the angular size is what's still being hijacked in the tree example. But in the Neil deGrasse Tyson example, funny though your nice little juxtaposition was there, and I haven't given you any laughs, is because my point's still valid. The Neil deGrasse Tyson concession in regards to GoPro lenses on the now seemingly fake Felix Baumgartner elevation was for nothing. It utilised a trick to get flat earthers to continue to reify the edge of whatever into the horizon when it's a not actual location. So I think a lot of flat earthers miss that trick.
I think
we have a case brought against us from Brain Chicken Lips. He's got 11 points against us in Discord.
That might be a cool way to round out the after show. Do you want to go through them?
We have 11 points. You just want me to go through them? Don't stop.
Anybody on the panel, if you hear a point that you specifically feel isn't laughable and needs addressing, then interrupt. If not, try and keep yourselves on mute so we can rattle with our way through them, and maybe we'll pick off one or two once we've heard the whole list.
Can I just bring Sanix? Oh God, we live. So his Xanax said that anything that's differential pressure from 14 points, whatever, it's. So if you go up to the mountain.
That's lovely. So, Blender Brain Chicken Lips. Points. Number 1. No model deflect. Wait, let me start again. From Blender Brain Chicken Lips. Let's see what the flat earth has. Number 1. Model that reflects reality. Number 2. Consensus on any observation flat earthers have made. Number 3, no unified theory on anything related to the flat earth itself. Number 4, cannot prove that the earth is any shape at all. Number 5, doesn't explain 90% of the phenomena that we see every day. Number 6, cannot be used as a reliable map. Number 7, relies on a religious text for evidence. No observable evidence for a dome or an ice wall. And all research has been compiled by normal people who have never studied math or science on a university level. Number 10, relies on a unified government that can control anything and everything at will. Number 11, requires there to be hundreds of millions of people to keep a secret. And it all got a thumbs up by the virus.
Cool. Sniper. I don't mind addressing those one at a time. I reckon you can get two or 3 word answers to all of them.
Can I get the first?
So, number 1, no model that reflects reality.
Chocolate, go ahead.
Models are pseudoscience.
Perfect. Number 2.
No consensus on any observation flat earthers have made.
That's 2 fallacies. Reality doesn't care about consensus is the first one, and the other one is a stereotype fallacy. He says flat earthers.
Perfect.
Look at that.
Look at that, man. That's off the blocks. Number 3.
Number 3, no unified theory on anything related to the flat earth itself.
That be a scientific theory or a colloquial theory?
That would be colloquial.
I think he's referring to a scientific theory.
Oh, well, then it's invalid that this isn't an establishment of a cause and effect series to establish a scientific theory. So that's a
So it's not
question.
science to begin with?
Correct. Malformed, not science to begin with. Number 4.
Number 4, cannot prove that the earth is any shape at all.
Covered this in the change of housekeeping question. So the geometric aspect of flatness would not be a shape.
Number 5, doesn't explain 90%. I guess he's being precise here. So exactly 90% of the phenomena that we see every day.
Just like to say 66.4% of statistics are made up on the spot. Vic Reeves.
6, cannot be used as a reliable map.
Is that reification? I suppose that's a reification fallacy because we'd have a working map that would make the world the map. No, that's reification. Not having a working map doesn't change the nature of reality. Obviously, and observably flat. Meaningless question. Presumably a straw man.
All maps are flat maps.
That's true.
Plus, the map is not the territory.
Hold on a second. Maps are flat maps. See the United States military. Number 7, relies on a religious text for evidence.
Would that be Wikipedia, which is the sacred texts of the religion of the ball? Because flat earth is not a religion, but the globe earth is.
Yeah, there's no religious assertion when I say clock tower, oil rig, Barrow in finesse, whatever. Here we go, Isle of Man, at whatever distance. That's just a declaration of what we see in a picture. The assertion that that would be a slightly looming non-standard refraction high in a holographic projection of the Isle of Man from behind the reified edge of an Earth curve based on begging the question, proof of nothing perspective hijacking curve calculator to turn the Isle of Man into a mirage is a religious assertion based on an R-value belief. I just say Isle of Man, about 35 miles. That's it. End of assertion. No religion whatsoever. So to assert that we've got a religious requirement for our proof is just a nonsense assertion. Is it number 7?
This is number 8. No observable evidence for a dome or an ice wall.
The ice wall is a straw man. I don't assert that we have an ice wall. I don't see any evidence of an ice wall. It's simply reified by flat earthers in the azimuthal equidistant projection and Gleason's map. So while that might be something that is held up by other flat earthers, that's certainly not an assertion I would make. I'd argue till I'm blue in the face with Sleeping Warrior if he ever asserts it right now. Hopefully he won't, as we're going to round out shortly. But the other one, dome, well, I don't assert that there's a dome. I don't know what the sky is. However, we do breathe gas, and in order to have gas pressure, there must be containment. And I'll quote Conspiracy Cats, as I've done throughout the show. Without the container, there can be no pressure. We definitely have gas pressure, therefore the antecedent for that gas pressure would be a container. I don't have any need to justify what the sky is to make the stone-cold factual statement that the necessary antecedent for the gas pressure we are breathing is a container. So it would be perfectly reasonable for us to say, which is a bit of a turnaround in 2019, simply go outside to debunk the fact that we don't have a sky vacuum. Go outside and breathe the pressure, the sky is not a vacuum. Number 9? Feel free, anybody else.
Number 9, all research has been compiled by normal people who have never studied math or science on a university level.
And even if it was, no, there's several people who have got science degrees who have talked in this field. That's just simply not true. But even if it was, let's just let them have it. Who cares? Does that matter?
No.
Nope.
Gets a backhanded slight because he said all research has been compiled by normal people, earthers, who have never studied math or science on a university level. So he must know every flat earther and what they studied, their educational credentials. So he must know that somehow. Maybe carnival is in your future vocation. 10. Relies on a unified government that can control anything and everything at will.
That's just that's a stereotyping fallacy. We are not conspiracy tards here on Flat Earth Debate.
And we don't rely on government for anything. 11, last one. Requires there to be hundreds of millions of people to keep a secret.
Again, not true. Compartmentalization within an example organization like NASA would preclude anybody within the organization knowing anything about it and wholeheartedly believing, in fact, every word that they say when they talk about the sky vacuum or any other nonsense violation of natural law that they might have as a belief. Compartmentalization would avoid anything more than half a dozen people knowing the actual lie that's being perpetrated. Some of those magicians would include the people who are on camera claiming they're in a violation of the second law of thermodynamics sky vacuum. So not limited to, but including people like Tim Peake on the ISS, overtly lying and knows it. Beyond them, no, the people who claim to make technology for the satellite that's claimed to be blasted off into a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, they wouldn't know that they are not having that happen or that the sky is not a vacuum. They just know that they've built something, and that's presumably what they would say. They might express their beliefs in terms of what they've been deceived about, but they wouldn't necessarily have to know anything, and they don't. Compartmentalization, that answers that question. Was that the final one?
So, blender brain chicken lips. Got your ass handed to you with your feeble 11 points. Merry Christmas. The end.
Anybody got any last Christmas wishes or spiritual goodness to pass on?
Long live Flat Earth.
Get stuffed!
Long live Fight the Flat Earth.
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of today's Discord and G Plus panels for making this after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in the Nathan Oakley premiering stream audience for tuning in, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. A very, very warm and happy Christmas to you all. And I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!